This deck is the new branded despia. It puts up 10 negates and doesn't lose to anything in the meta? Well, while all of what I just said was a complete lie, now that I got you guys' attention, I'm gonna ask you guys, if you really enjoyed these types of videos, to please help me out by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this, and it really helps the channel grow. But with that being said, let's just hop straight into it. So I'm excited to show today my branded Shaddoll deck profile. I took this locals, got top 8 with it. Deck was pretty solid. I think I was just a bit rusty. I could have played a bit better, but overall the deck performed pretty well. So let's just get straight into the deck profile. So starting off with the Shaddoll engine, 2 Wendy, 2 Squamata, 2 Hedgehog, 2 Beast, a Dragon, and an Aerial. So I would say these ratios are pretty standard for the most part. You don't want to dead draw too many of the same names, and I think this was a perfect number. The only unorthodox thing is this second Beast. The reason why I put a second Beast in over another Shaddoll like Falco was because I wanted to be able to fuse with Beast more often to draw cards, because there are a lot of good single cards on their own, be it like Branded Fusion or something else that I'm playing, so I wanted to keep up hand advantage really well. Beast also helps you kind of cheat your way around the Branded Fusion restriction of not being able to go into links, because normally when you summon like a construct, you want to dump a schism, and then you have no way to link it off after if you use Branded Fusion, but you can tribute set Beast. And I know that sounds really weird, but the normal summon doesn't come up too much in this deck, so I felt like the second Beast was pretty good. If you guys want, you can play another one of utility Shaddoll in here instead, like Nail Shaddoll Genius or something. For their Shaddoll Fusion spells, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 IL, 1 Schism, and 1 Rest Shaddoll Incarnation is very standard. You definitely want to max out on the Shaddoll spells, they're very powerful. Schism is insane. Rest Shaddoll Incarnation, I definitely think you still have to play it. I never used its on-field effect, but I found myself sending it to Grave a lot to flip up monsters on my opponent's turn, whether it's for Squamata or Dragon, or it's for turn 1 pushing something bigger with a Hedgehog to search a spell or trap. That's it for the Shaddoll package. Next up for the branded package, 3 Branded Fusion, 1 Albaz, so pretty simple. 1 Albaz is all you need. Even if you don't use Lubellion to shuffle back Albaz, it doesn't really matter. Once you go through a single Branded Fusion, you have the rest of your fusion engines online at that point, and you're just in a very good position. Also, your Mirror Jade is rarely ever sending Albion unless you only have Branded Fusion. So if you only have Branded Fusion, you might it might hurt if your Lubellion gets stopped or something and you can't put the Albaz back, but other than that, the single Albaz is absolutely okay. Branded Fusion is just an insane card in this deck. It dumps a Shaddoll to the graveyard or it dumps Fairy Tale Snow to the grave, so it's just insane while setting up a boss monster. Next up, I did play the Dogmatika stuff. This is a new addition to the deck. I felt this was very good in theory, and in practice it worked out good for the most part. I would say this is pretty compact. The double Nadir Servant is honestly this card is insane in this deck. It's another starter for you. Even if you don't summon on the extra deck during your first turn, you're going to be able to essentially dump App Clone to the graveyard, and then the App Clone is going to be able to get your engine going, and you can set up a Schism or an Shaddoll Fusion to play on your opponent's turn, so it doesn't really matter the extra deck restriction. Of course, Ecclesia is the one you're searching. Fleur is also very good. It also means a Titanic Clad that you send from your extra deck is able to summon Ecclesia, which grabs Fleur, which not only threatens a lot of pressure, but it also acts as a negation. The last two were kind of the ones I was unsure of. These are the ones I would consider cutting if you were really wanted to cut the deck space down. But Maximus I felt was very high risk, high reward. Of course, there are a lot of decks in the format where sending stuff from their extra deck you can get punished really hard against decks like Fluanderies or Eldritch, or even Despia branded. They can punish you pretty hard with it. And I figured for those matchups, you get punished game 1, it's okay, because at least you get something out of it. Even if your opponent gets advantage, then you know you're not going to Maximus them in the future. You can just side it out. Punishment I felt was very good. It's okay if you're locked out of the extra deck. It can act as a pseudo starter in a way where you're able to send App Clone, and then your App Clone get you an L or a Schism to play on the following turn after the punishment restriction wears off. So I felt that overall this engine was incredibly good. I mainly just wanted to play it for the Nadir Servant. This is an incredibly good starter. Next up, I am playing the Frightfur package as well. 3 patchwork, 3 poly, and 2 chain. So it's not very standard. Most people just play like this. I think you definitely can play like this, but I wanted the 3rd polymerization just because I never wanted to like brick on like no fusion spells. But I think the problem I was having was like not enough monsters. Like I would see like not enough Shaddolls monsters or just a bunch of random monsters that I couldn't fuse together with poly. So I think maybe like I would cut down one of the polymerizations after taking it to this tournament. I think it still worked perfectly okay. I maybe would add in 1 Shaddoll. Like that's kind of pushing it though, because like when you have too many Shaddolls, it's not great either, because you're just gonna draw a handful of Shaddolls sometimes. And that's kind of the issue with like fusion decks. If you've played like Despia branded, you know the issue is like too many fusion spells or no fusion spells at all. But you definitely need this. It's just an insane engine, gets you a fusion spell and a dark monster to fuse with that grabs you more advantage. So definitely would recommend playing this package, even if you don't have Guardian Chimera. And for those of you who play Shaddolls for a long time, you know the normal summon is always something that's like very up for like personal preference, and I felt like Yugioh Dogma was very good in this deck. So obviously on summon, it's going to be able to send a card like Applone from your action deck to the grave, and Applone gets you that Shaddoll monster through Hedgehog if you have no monsters, or it gets you a Shaddoll spell or trap if you have no fusion spells. But Yugioh Dogma is also incredibly good because I do play Titanic a lot in my extra deck. So single Yugioh Dogma not only gets your Shaddoll engine started, but it also gets you access to your Dogmatika package with the Fleur and the Dogmatika Ecclesia during the end phase. So even though it pays you down to 2k, I feel like that's only really relevant against decks like Sky Strikers and Despia. So if you're playing against those, I normally just side these out games 2 and 3. But otherwise, against most other decks, like it's pretty difficult for them to like do that last bit of damage if you're able to set up your entire board. So, and most of the time it doesn't matter. But yeah, Yugioh Dogma, if you don't want to, if you've about paying the life points, you can consider something like Keeper of Dragon Magic. You can consider something like Opening and like Albert. That's just different stuff you can consider. I personally like Yugioh Dogma a lot. For the other like just generic good staples in this deck, Foolish Burial, of course, is honestly an insane card. Triple Super Polymerization is still maining Super Poly. I feel like it's very good this format. Even like the best decks in theory are like Sword Soul and Despia branded, and these are very good cards against them. Against Sword Soul, they give you light monsters on their end board. Against Despia branded, it's pretty obvious they put a bunch of monsters you can fuse with. Super Poly just such a great board breaking card. We don't have room for hand traps, so this is one of our board breaking cards is very good. And then finally, the last card is Fairy Tale Snow. This is the last card to complete the 44 card deck. Fairy Tale Snow is just insane. You have so many ways to send it to the grave, not only with a branded fusion, but also with your Shaddoll fusion as well. So you'll always be able to have access to Snow, which is just incredible. Next up for the extra deck, we're playing 2 copies of App Clone. You definitely need to. You have so many ways to send one. You always need to like send one to the graveyard to get your play started with like Nadir Servant or Yugioh Dogma. So you want to be able to summon the second one because this effect is very, very good. Next up, Double Construct. I didn't have space for more, but honestly, I found myself like never going through more than 2. If anything, like it sounds crazy, but like I would maybe even just consider playing 1 because I found myself going to a lot of other fusions more often, but 2 is definitely fine. Double Wind Up. This is also one like I kind of wanted 3 at times, but like I think 2 is definitely like the perfect number. I set up Double Winda before, but like just a single Winda is sometimes needed to get stuff into the graveyard. What I mean by that is you have a handful of only Dark Shaddolls and a fusion spell. Sometimes you just need to throw away a Winda just to get the fusion effects of the Shaddolls that you use. So you definitely want a second Winda to put up on your opponent's turn to disrupt them. So yeah, double Winda. I am playing Shakinaga. This is one of the things I cut the Almirage and Gardna package for. So with Yugioh Dogma, I should have mentioned, but if you have the option to like turn this into Almirage or Secure Gardna to give yourself a light monster too, but I felt that was a little too greedy because after you resolve Yugioh Dogma, you're in such a good position, you really don't need something like that. So I decided to cut it for more utility Shaddolls, and I'm glad I did because Shakinaga came up a few times. In theory, it's very good for a card like Super Poly because it's able to hit the Earth monsters, which is going to sound weird, like what are the good Earth monsters out there? But if you consider something like Therion King Regulus, that's like probably the biggest one. The Adventure Token's also is like the other biggest one, just because Draco back most of the time is going to be your opponent's out to your window, and having access to Super Poly to protect it can just be really, really good. This also helps your Gale Dogma dodge something like Baylor or Imperm if you have like a El Shaddoll fusion as well. So Shekanaga is pretty good. I also wanted just like a throwaway Shaddoll to send off of something like Maximus or something to grab a spell trap back, and Shekanaga just fulfills that. If I don't want to waste like a window or construct or something, I can just send Shekanaga. Next up for the branded package, 1 Mirror Jade, 1 Titaniclad, 1 Lubellion, and 1 Albion, so slightly bigger than normal. But I think these two are pretty self-explanatory. This one is good when you only have Branded Fusion and like all you're doing is setting up Mirror Jade, gets you a Shaddoll to the grave and sets up a Mirror Jade. Albion is also really good. I use it at times when Branded Fusion isn't the play I'm starting with, because by then you'll have a bunch of monsters in the grave, like Gravity Controller or fusion monsters, and you can essentially send Snow to the graveyard for free while putting up a lot of offensive pressure, because Albion can attack the turn it uses this effect. You're going to be able to put up like a Mirror Jade plus a Snow in the graveyard, and you're going to be able to still have access to your like the 2 attacks from these and the Snow, so that's a lot of damage off of just a single Branded Fusion at that point. Titaniclad, like I mentioned, is very good for Gale Dogma, but I also decided it'd probably be like a better target for Mirror Jade, just because after you go through like your Lubellion or your Albion to summon it, like this is the best thing to send, because it gets you access to your Dogmatika stuff. So I figured like this package was perfect for me. I didn't need more, I didn't need less. That's also the other thing I should mention. Like, this is something that like I added in after I cut the Almirage package. It was definitely worth it. For the other fusions, 1 Entis, because we are playing a Dogmatika package, so for Punishment or for Nadir Servant, very good. 1 Dragostapelia. This one was actually something I was debating on, like just changing to like Starving Venom. The reason being, Despia like is pretty much the biggest matchup where you're gonna be able to Super Poly away for this, but like against a lot of other random matchups, they might have like random dark monsters or something, and a lot of the times I'll just say you probably don't want to like fuse into Winda if you're like breaking a board with Super Poly. So having something like Starving Venom can just be like better. While Starving Venom isn't an interruption, I still feel like Starving Venom's good enough to play, because if it, for example, if it gets destroyed, it's still a threat your opponent has to deal with. This is just like another Mirror Jade essentially when it leaves the field. So I would consider playing Starving Venom over this. 1 Guardian Chimera. This card is incredible. This makes Poly super threatening in this deck. You have a lot of ways to get monsters onto the board with like Wendy and your normal summon stuff. This makes it so your opponent has to respect your polymerization. You don't have to play it if you can't afford it. You definitely can just like play an extra copy of like something else, like maybe a Link to like Dark Charmer or something. But I feel like if you have access to this, you definitely want to play. It's very good. And then finally, Gravity Controller. Honestly, honorary Shaddoll card. This card is just so good in Shaddolls. It always turns that extra monster zone Shaddoll monster into a way to add something back from the grave. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the deck profile, guys. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do stay tuned for the combo tutorial / test hand video that's going to be coming out I believe the Friday of this week, if this is going when I expect it to. And then also there's a duel video between that I recorded at Locos where I played this against Pendulum Magicians. So if you guys want to stay tuned for that, and you'll catch that after the combo tutorial. So lots of content on this deck is going to be coming up. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. But with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.